Mic'd up.
Highlights from Lowlifes. Highlights from Lowlifes.
Wow.
Uh-oh, what happened? What happened? It sounded like it skipped at the end there.
That was
Well, it
me
is-
opening my beer.
It is
Oh, okay.
vinyl.
Yeah, it's
That's a
that's
pretty catchy tune. Who sings that for us?
That's the musician Shelby Ann.
Hey,
Is she available
Yeah.
to
Yes, weddings, bar mitzvahs, and jingles.
nice.
all right. Cool.
Thanks.
Well, welcome
Thank you,
again
Shelby
to
Ann.
highlights from a low life. Tonight we are going to continue our ongoing theme of a position on the baseball field, and we name our top 5 favorite players at that position. Tonight, second baseman.
Second baseman.
So-
Oh no.
yeah,
Segunda
that's right.
baso.
I'm kidding.
So we are the lowlifes tonight are Rob Lannerman, Terry Lee, and special guest star Brent Tetlow. I am Rob Weber. Again, the Lowlifes, group of Bay Area senior baseball players, got together during the pandemic to do Zoom calls for our mental health, and it evolved into top 5 shows. We had actual homework for our mental health calls. We did all kinds of topics, and the folks that mic'd up heard about us and decided, you know what? You guys need to join us. So we are doing our, I think, our 83rd or 84th show. So this should be interesting.
Here's another thing you can blame the pandemic on.
What's that?
Our show.
Our show.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Let's see. Why don't we get things kicked off tonight? Terry, who is your number 5 favorite second baseman of all time?
Well, let me tell you. I went from the shortest bio to the longest bio in history with this topic of all-time second basemen. Well, our all-time favorite personal second baseman.
That's it.
So I need to qualify that. My number 5 is a second baseman who played for the Astros. Went into the Hall of Fame in 2015. Oh, let me just get to the good stuff. This is a 7-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove, 5-time Silver Slugger Award winner, and he was the national stolen base leader in 1994. Craig Biggio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's someone you probably wouldn't expect, but he's really one of the greatest. Craig Biggio. Hey, Teddy Bear, how about you?
Ooh, okay. One of my number 5 favorites on my second baseman's list was a fellow we call Rock 2B, as he was called. He spent 2 years with the Astros and then 3 years with the Giants. I got to know him very well as he was the director of my very first fantasy camp I ever attended. And it's Rob Andrews. And Rob played a lot at second base for the 3 years with the Giants. And we've emailed jokes back and forth in the past. And I met him and his wife a couple times at the tournament banquets. But he was a tough guy to be able to play second base all those night games at Candlestick Park. And I remember at fantasy camp, he brought out the Quad Rock pins to the fantasy camp and handed them out when you had a good play or in the field or a great at bat. So
He was a very generous guy.
he was. And just an all around nice guy. I'm
Yeah.
glad I got to meet him. Glad to talk to him after fantasy camp and a few years there, even after he didn't do the fantasy camp directorship anymore. But that was the start of me sending a whole lot of money to those fantasy camp directors over the years. And
Yeah.
it's also how I got to know Webby for the very first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob is still a close friend of mine. I've tried to get him to listen to this show, and he's tried to avoid doing that for whatever reason. I think it's the entertainment value is just too much for him. But
It must
Brent,
be.
I don't know if you know this, but Rob hit 3 home runs in his major league career.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go over stats, but that's awesome.
2 of those home runs were off Tom Seaver in the same game.
Ooh, that's something to be had.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. hmm
Absolutely.
he said the second home run off of Seaver, he hit it late in the game. It's like the 8th inning. Seaver was going for a complete game, and when Rob hit the home run, the score went from 10-2 Mets to 10-3 Mets, and he said he put Tom Seaver in his place right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
bet Tom Seaver won't forget him either.
No, no, no.
No. You always remember
So,
somebody that doubles up on you going yard.
yep,
That's
yep.
cool.
So
Anyway,
as a fun fact, Rob Andrews is the shortest bio I've seen,
no.
and the longest bio ever is coming up soon.
Okay. Well, he was, he only spent 3 years with the Giants, but he was my favorite. So,
Yeah, great guy.
Webby, what do you
Yeah.
got for us for number
Hey,
5?
hold on a second. We have a relevant comment coming in hot.
Good.
Oh,
JC here, I actually have the bat that he hit
does.
the home runs off of Tom Seaver.
Wow.
Mike
oh,
Maxwell actually gave it to me.
He did at fantasy.
Rob wasn't happy.
yeah. I bet. I bet. I bet he
Well,
wasn't happy. It's my bat.
you could sell it back to him.
I remember I was there at the meet and greet when they did that for him because JC was the senior camper at the camp. They gave it to him. Cool.
Wow. It probably should have asked Rob's permission first, but yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good.
And you're not, and JC's not giving it back.
Nah.
Yeah,
All right.
he was my first camp coach,
Yeah.
or what do you call
A director.
the
Yeah.
director, also in
Cool.
03.
All right. Let's
Webby.
move on, and I will give you my number 5 pick. I always liked watching this guy. He was one of those professionals on the field. You didn't hear a lot about him. He didn't make a lot of noise. He just went out and did his job, and he did it well year after year after year. I'm talking about Kansas City Royals second baseman Frank White.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So Frank is an interesting guy. He won 8 Gold Gloves between 1977 and 1987. He played for the Royals his entire career, 1973 to 1990. After his career, he got into broadcasting. Then he got into politics, and he is currently serving in the state of Kansas. And he's also the first base coach for the Kansas City Monarchs of the American Association.
Huh.
So
Wow.
stayed very involved in sports, even though he's in politics. And sometimes those two cross. So in 2024, Frank came out and said that he didn't think that the fans, the people in his jurisdiction, should pay an extra tax just so a sports team made up of millionaires and billionaires can have a place to play. So he encouraged his constituents to vote down a new tax that would have allowed more royalties for the Royals and the Chiefs in the area. So
Yikes.
um, that may have ruffled some feathers, but it's probably the right decision. So
How'd it go?
he's
Did
uh,
it pass?
those two teams still exist. Apparently, they didn't need
Okay.
it that much. So yeah, I think it's probably the right decision. But I always liked that guy, Frank White of the Royals.
Oh, good.
Was that a
Good.
fan fee?
It would have been a tax. You live in the area, you pay a tax. Whether you
Oh,
go to the games or not doesn't matter.
you're talking
Wow.
Yeah,
about every
Yeah,
citizen,
yeah.
every
Oh
homeowner,
yeah,
citizen
yeah.
had to pay it. Oh yeah,
It's what
that's
they it's what they've tried to do around here is make the people pay for the building of a stadium or some
Yeah.
kind of concourse that the players would benefit from. Um, and he didn't think it was right. So I appreciate that he stood up for it. Robbie, what do you got?
Oh, this was a fun one with second base. I feel like in the hundred and how many years of baseball, this is probably the position that has changed the least in terms of the what a second baseman is. If you go back years and years, like Tony Lazzeri, Leo DeRocher, Frankie Frisch, guys like Joe Gordon, and even up to like Davey Lopes and Sizemore, these are all guys that were just really good, solid baseball players, scrappy guys. The second baseman historically always seemed like guys that are move the runner up, the guys that can bunt. They play good, solid defense all the time. And I feel like, I mean, even nowadays, like Jordan Westberg and Jeff McNeil and Nico Horner and Brendan Donovan and guys like that, they're all just cut from that same cloth. Like, shortstops have changed and outfielders have changed and everything. But second basemen all seem like guys that couldn't quite cut it at shortstop or third and ended up having to fight to stay in baseball and ended up at second base and really make a career out of it. So this was fun. I couldn't narrow it down. So my number 5 is 4 guys. Because I really think they're the epitome of what great second basemen are. They play hard, they don't draw a lot of attention to themselves, but they're absolutely essential to their teams. And Rob already named one of them, Frank White. And I may be taking them other off your guys' list, but you could expand on them. I won't go into great detail here, but
Okay.
Frank White, Willie Randolph,
Yeah.
Sweet Lou Whitaker, and Harold Reynolds are 4 guys that just like all play the game the right way. And you could put them back in 1932. The way they played would fit the way DeRocher and Frankie Frisch and those guys played back then. If you put them into the modern era, they could play second base just as equally as well. So it's kind of a fun position to really talk about. And I think those guys are really, really fit the mold. So I cheated a little bit, but I can do that because what are you going to do? Hang up?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Rules has never been your strong suit. So
No,
that's good. That's good. Yeah,
I think of them more as guidelines.
I see. I see. Okay, that's round 5. Let's move on to round 4. Robbie, who's up?
Let's go back to Teddy Bear.
Oh, okay. Um, this guy is a second baseman before Jeff Kent, and he spent a solid 11 seasons with the San Francisco Giants. He was runner up for National League Rookie of the Year in 1986, and he was a 2-time All Star, won a Gold Glove, Silver Slugger in 1993. It's Robbie Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed watching him play. Um, someone wrote that defensively he was worth 7.5 wins in his career, but how do you figure that? But he never had a whopping numbers at the plate. I think he hit like 257 batting average career, but he had 103 stolen bases, and he was a very good second baseman, long time in San Francisco. So I thought he should be on my favorites list. I think it's well deserved. So that's my number 4.
Good pick.
Excellent.
Yeah, yeah. We all remember watching Robbie, right?
Oh gosh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And he spelled it the right way,
Yeah. Speaking
which
of
I
that,
love.
Why don't you go right after Robbie?
Oh, fair enough. All right. Well, this is my lone giant on the list, so I'm not going to cross over too much with you
Oh,
guys on
okay.
the rest of your list. But
I got a
I,
couple.
and when you're putting a list like this together of your favorite player
Hmm.
at a position, it's really hard not to think of the guy that was the second baseman on your childhood team. And I think at our advancing age, we did have the luxury of guys played on our childhood teams for 5 or 10 years. They played a long time. They
They
just
did.
didn't bounce around. And for me, that second baseman on the Giants as a kid was Tito Fuentes.
Yes.
Tito was, I mean, he talks fast, he moves fast, he plays fast, he twitches fast when you scare him. Everything about him is quick and hyperactive, and he was so much fun to watch. And I think to this day, he is still the only guy that wore a headband on his cap, not under, on it.
On his cap.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
with Tito written on the cap. But boy, that guy was
He
fun to watch. He just everything was quick and bouncy and everything else. But yeah, there's my that's my number 4 guy.
He's a good one. I tell you, he went to fantasy camp one time as a special guest guy, and he wouldn't shut up.
Yeah,
He would talk all the way through the games, all the way in the showers, in the locker room. He just kept going and going and going.
yeah.
He looked like he had fun playing, and he looks like he's having fun now that he's retired from ball too.
Yeah. I think somebody called him the Anarchizer Bunny once.
I believe it. I believe it. He just kept talk. He was good. There you go.
So, since Robbie named off 4 second basemen, I have to go to my number 1 now.
Well, you can use one of those guys and just elaborate. I didn't go into detail.
Actually, I'm kidding. I barely
Okay.
even heard of him. My number 4 is a Chicago Cubs player.
Oh, there you go.
He he's in the Hall of Fame as in 05. He's a 10-time All-Star, National League MVP, 9-time Gold Glove winner. I didn't realize that. National League home run leader in 1990. That would be Ryne Sandberg.
Yeah. Ryan. That's Ryan, not Ryan. It's Ryan, not Ryan.
Another one of those just solid. Well, he's an all-around athlete. He played 3 or 4 sports in high school, but ended up with baseball. He's just one of the solid second base guys for the Cubs.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're an athlete, you can play anything you want to play.
Yeah.
You can play golf. You can play baseball. You can play badminton.
Badminton. I didn't
do
see
it.
that one on his list of things that he would do.
Hand-eye coordination. He could do it if he wanted to try it. He could do it if he wanted to try it.
Well, I just want to let you know now that Ryne Sandberg was my number 1 pick, being the big Cubs fan.
That's all right.
But-
Robbie took all 4 of my, 5, 4, 3,
whatever.
2.
You weren't going to
Besides The
pick
Rock.
Earl Reynolds.
So I've got an interesting one at number 4. I'll bet most of you didn't know that this guy became famous while playing second base.
Ooh.
Jackie Robinson.
Oh.
Jackie Robinson began his career with the Dodgers. In his first season, he played first base almost exclusively. But for the next 6 years, he was a second baseman, and he led the league in most categories, fielding categories for second baseman. I don't in listening to them talk about Jackie, they didn't think he would be as successful at shortstop, and they had a shortstop, Pee Wee Reese. So they needed help at second, and felt he was the best guy for the job at that time. He eventually moved over to third base, but if you look back at the stats, for a 6-year period of time, he's amongst the league leaders in everything. Double plays turned, chances, errors. Even he made the most errors, but you make more errors when you get more chances.
Yep.
And that's the position that he played when he was, in the spotlight for the Dodgers, breaking the color barrier. So he's my number 4 pick.
Well, that's a good one because he was on my
Yeah.
list too, as favorite second baseman. And I did read about his career. I didn't see him play, obviously, but the amazing fact is that he joined the MLB at 28 years old, and he just played
Yep.
10 seasons. But he just, to lead the league in so many things with just 10 seasons. Like you said, these guys that were early baseball players, they had long careers, and he ended up with a batting average of 311 and 134 homers and darn near 200 stolen bases. But those lower totals because he's got a late start. Imagine if he did it in his prime. What if he did it in his prime?
Got a late
21,
start.
28.
Yeah, he had injuries.
Yeah,
He had suspensions because people were trying to draw him into fights.
sure.
There was some military time involved. So there's big chunks of his career that were taken away from him
In his prime.
and in his prime. So all right, hey, that's first 2 rounds in the book.
Andy
Well,
has the longest bio I've ever seen.
Yeah,
well, yeah, but
I mean,
he's a pleasure.
we could do 5 shows on him.
But
Just
yeah.
amazing.
he opened the door for us to see all these other great players now that are playing now
Hmm.
and in the past. I mean,
Yeah.
he deserves to
Yeah.
be on our list. Uh, that's
Okay,
cool.
we are
That's
two
very
two
good.
rounds in, and let's move on to our sponsors time. Robbie, tell us about our sponsor.
Well, it's my favorite segment of the show. It's called "What You Drinking," and what are we in 87,000 episodes or whatever it is now
Yep.
that we're
At
in?
least.
Those are hairy knuckles, by the way.
No,
80,
thank you,
Uh,
thank you.
8,300.
I can tell you walked home today because your knuckles are all scraped up. But
Especially his middle finger.
so Almanac Brewing, for some inexplicable reason, continues to sponsor us. Sponsor the highlights from Lowlife show, and the beers are delicious. This is
Go
really,
on with that.
yeah, there it is. One of the leading craft brewers in the United States and around the world, really. The beers are outstanding, and we get the pleasure of drinking. The lager series has just switched over for me to the Buenos Vibras
Oh yes.
Mexican style lager. This
It's that.
is so delicious and refreshing. I could drink 9 tonight.
Wow.
I said that I could. I will probably is a better phrase, but
uh,
man, this beer is good. Where that Porchlight Lager is really rich and flavorful and still refreshing. This is just a beer for a nice sunny day and sitting on your patio and listening to music and kicking back with the dog. So I highly recommend this beer. Start looking for it. It should start showing up in the stores that carry Almanac. And como una pelea a la lunes, me siento atraído por esta cerveza.
heist to your Lego.
Yeah. What are you guys
Wow.
drinking?
Well, tonight I'm just going with the flow.
Ah,
it's a it's
can't
a
go
good
wrong.
it's a good, nice, easy going beer. Dry hopped and it's just got a little hint of citrus in it. It's just a nice, refreshing beer. It's getting a little bit warmer out here in Sacramento today, and so I figured I'd go with this one. It's awesome.
Good pick.
That is so true.
Ah,
Uh-huh.
what a lead in.
True Kolsch by Almanac. It is one delicious beer. This modest brew doesn't need to brag to make an impression. True Kolsch.
Wow. All right.
Enjoy them while you
I am.
got them. They're changing to lager.
I'm still drinking the Bunny Hill
Yes.
IPA, the starter IPA that Almanac produces. Um, as I've told you guys, my favorite IPA from Almanac is the Love Hazy. But for those of you who are avoiding IPAs because you think they're too thick, too heavy, this is a one you might want to try. It's uh, as they call it, the Bunny Hill, the starter IPA, and it's pretty smooth. I really like it. I've grown accustomed to it. Not saying I don't like love hazy anymore, but this is a this is a good close second. So try this one out, Bunny Hill IPA.
I agree with Rob. That is a good IPA to start with. It really is.
Hmm.
No, great. Well, Almanac really is one of the best brewers in the country. We haven't even tapped into some of the beers they make. They've got double and triple IPAs, barrel aged offerings. They've got a porter and a stout that are absolutely delicious. So anybody who's just looking for a easy beer to drink like I am tonight, or you want something that's completely complex and aged in oak barrels, they've got it. They are definitely one of the greatest brewers in the country. We're very pleased they're part of the show, and if you happen to be in Alameda, California, please stop by the brewery, visit them. It's well worth a trip out there. And if you go there, tell them you heard about them from the highlights from Lowlife show, and they may take pity upon you.
And hey, Robbie, how often do they turn over their uh, varieties?
Oh, they're constantly creating new things.
So
Oh, that's right. You weren't with us from the live show
I'm
in
sorry,
Almanac.
I
They
was
have the
recovering.
regular beer making area, and then they have the experimental beer making area with the wooden fooders and some old style tanks and
Mhm.
things like that, where they're messing around all the time. So plenty of beers only available in the tap room and all of that stuff.
So
So
go to the tap room and try some new stuff.
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
we got a call. We got a what you drinking call.
JC here with a What You Drinking and Favorite Second Baseman crossover. I'm sitting here looking out at Banner Island Ballpark, second base, where I watched Max Muncy, not the Dodger guy, play for the Stockton Ports. He's now
He
the
did.
starting second baseman for the A's. That makes him one of my favorites, number 5, second baseman.
He left out an important part and realized it and added another message.
My What You Drinking was a Seaside
Oh, yeah.
by Almanac, a West Coast IPA, really delicious out here at the ballpark.
All right.
Yay.
All right. Okay, we are through 2 rounds. Let's move on to round 3, and Terry, start us off.
Number 3. Well,
Oh, oh, oh.
I've got to jumble my list around since 3 of them are gone already. Since Robbie, mentioned the first 4 right off my list. This is the second baseman for the Cincinnati Reds in 1972. I had the opportunity to meet him at a gymnastics meet here. It's at as at Stanford. His daughter was a NC2A Division I gymnast, Joe Morgan.
Yeah.
I talked to him for a short time. Pretty nice guy. Kind of focused on his daughter. I didn't want to bother him. So this is my number 3. Joe Morgan. He's a 10-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, 5-time Golden Globe winner, Cincinnati Reds. Oh, and they retired his number 8.
He did.
We get to go to Cincinnati Reds ballpark this summer to go check out the house that Joe built.
Yeah.
Hey, Teddy Bear, how about you?
Well, I had Joe Morgan on my list also, so I just want to chime in. But the reason why he's on my favorites list, it says he played 2 years in San Francisco, and he hit a home
Yes.
run on the final day of the 1992 season against the Dodgers, knocking them out of the playoffs. That's why he made my list.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you've seen the video of that where they cut to Lasorda too in the dugout, right?
I think I have. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Lasorda's sitting on the bench. Morgan hits that home run, and they cut to Lasorda, and you see him go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible, terrible,
Like somebody
terrible
pissed
sight.
in his pasta.
So sorry.
Yeah.
So we'll flip on over here to my also ran here with is Jeff Kent. He played for 16 or 6 teams over his 17-year career in the big leagues, and he enjoyed his most best stretch during his tenure with the Giants. Acquired in a blockbuster trade that sent Matt Williams over to the Indians in '96. So we lost Matt Williams, but we gained a Jeff Kent, and Kent and Barry Bonds teamed up to give the Giants their most fearsome power duo since Willie Mays and Willie McCovey. We haven't had a power duo like that since then. So, but he averaged 29 home runs in his 17-year career, 115 RBIs per season in his 6 years in San Francisco, and he earned 3 consecutive All-Star selections. But the question remains, how does he ride dirtbags and then get hurt washing his car?
Yeah.
Right. Really, Coach?
Okay. Who else? Who hasn't gone yet? Robbie.
Okay, I'm gonna go with okay, basically, whenever a discussion comes up about who belongs and who doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, this guy's name usually comes up as a guy that doesn't belong there. And I find that point is driven really hard by several generations of Yankee fans who are still bitter that this guy hit a walk-off home run in Game 7 of the World Series in 1960, sparking the end of the Yankee dynasty. And if you talk to any of the Yankee guys, they they're very vehement about him. That's all he's ever done in his career. That's all he ever did in his career. And if you watch video and footage of Mazeroski, he is arguably the greatest defensive second baseman that ever played the game. I mean, he dominated that position for over a decade in the National League. And look, the Hall of Fame is about dominance, right? If you are, it, we put a lot of emphasis on offensive numbers, but
Sure.
if Yankee fans use that argument about Mazeroski, but they don't use it about Edgar Martinez and a couple of Reggie Jackson, for example, that
Brooks
were
Robinson.
right,
Yeah.
exact guys that hit, but really weren't great
Yeah.
fielders or spent their career as DHs a lot of their career. So Mazeroski, I think, if you're dominant for over a decade at your position, you are the finest player on defense. You deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, and I think
Yeah, you do.
he has been there. And I've watched stuff, and his game would translate to the modern game perfectly. So all this crap about him being a one home run guy, yeah, that might be his big moment, but this guy quietly went about and did his job and helped his team win, like I talked about in my first pick earlier. He helped his team win every day, and that's what a Hall of Famer is all about. So Bill
I
Mazeroski.
agree.
Good one. Good one.
Good.
Thank you. I guess that leaves you again, Webby.
All right. I'm going to go a little bit outside the box
Ooh.
with a guy that I think changed the second base position a little bit. We all grew up thinking of a second baseman as a kind of a punch and Judy hitter that either batted at the top of the order or the bottom of the order, and did a lot of offense. And if they did provide offense, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we lost you for a second.
All right. So I think we grew up thinking that these guys were punch and Judy hitters, maybe didn't provide a lot of offense, and then this guy kind of changed his game a bit. He came up with the Orioles, and was a good second baseman, but then moved over to a few other teams and started to hit home runs. Oh, really? A second baseman that hit home runs.
Wow.
1 year with the Braves, he hit over 40 home runs. I'm talking about Davey Johnson.
Mhm.
Oh,
Most of us know him as a manager with some big playoff teams with the Mets and the Reds and several other teams that he managed. But before that, he was kind of a, a, a game-changing second baseman, a guy who played the position well, but also provided pop at a level that hadn't been seen. And somebody like Ryan Sandberg would and Jeff Kent, those are good examples of people who gave teams hope at the second base position. Hey, you can
Power.
produce some power and some RBIs out of that.
Contributors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, Davey Johnson is a favorite of mine because the guy just loved the game. His playing career is over. He moves into management. He did a little bit of TV stuff. Really enjoyed the game, and even at the end of his career, he was, oh, I can't get in the major leagues. I'll go to Japan and play there.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that really loved baseball. So
Yeah.
Davey Johnson's he's my number 3 pick, right?
Yeah, he should be on your list. That's good.
Yeah. All right, so we finished 3 rounds.
3 rounds.
Let's go into a round 2, and let's see. Robbie, why don't you start it off?
All right. I'm gonna go with this guy. Oddly enough, number 17 for the Milwaukee Brewers, Jim Gantner.
Mm.
Jim Gantner grew up in a small town about 100 miles away from Milwaukee. He played in his entire 17-year career with the Milwaukee Brewers. 17 years. Never was an all-star, never won a gold glove. Started at second base for about 14 of those 17 years. Allowed the the Brewers, who had real problems at third base, it allowed them to move Paul Molitor to third base so Gantner could take over second base all the time. The guy was a 274 hitter, solid hometown hero that grew up, played his entire career in his hometown with his hometown team. He's now a broadcaster with the Brewers, and
Ooh,
he's involved in a whole bunch of charitable and community organizations in Milwaukee.
so
I mean, it's like the dream life, right? Grow up, play
yeah,
for your hometown team, play your whole career, have a good, strong career, and then retire and still do it. So
and be an
I don't know.
inning eater. Yeah,
Yeah, there's just something special about that. Gantner was always one of those guys that stood out to me, even as a kid. I don't know why, but I always had a special affinity for the guy. So, yeah,
he's on.
that's the dream for a kid, right?
He's
So,
on your list.
yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
good for you.
Terry,
All right. I'm into my honorable mentions now. So I looked at a lot of lists of second basemen in the past, and this guy keeps coming up, and his photographs are before helmets,
Oh,
batting helmets. This is Rogers Hornsby,
mm,
oh, okay.
and
He's a stud.
yeah,
JC saw him
he's a
play.
Hall of Fame in 1942. He played for St. Louis. He played from 2000 sorry, 1915 to 1937 with a
Oh,
couple of
JC saw
teams.
him play.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
but yeah, but you got to remember, this is the era of no batting helmet, and what did the catcher's mask look like? Did they even have one at the time?
Oh gosh. He,
Um, he's just a down and dirty ball player, just one of those kind of guys.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool. All right, uh, Webby.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to come back with a guy that personality wise, I don't think we all like him. But watching him in person, quite the player.
hmm.
Um, Robbie Alomar.
Oh,
Um,
Uh-huh.
Robbie has done some stuff on the field that
yeah.
I think he'd like to take back. Maybe some dirty plays.
Yeah.
Maybe he embarrassed some people he probably shouldn't have. Um, but as a competitor, few were like him. Very slick fielding, excellent line drive hitter up the gaps. Basically, was as 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 Rob was talking about Mazeroski before. Alomar dominated his position for a long period of time. That same 10 years, where if you talked about the best second baseman in the game, it was Robbie Alomar. So that's a guy that I enjoyed watching. Maybe not hearing so much, hearing the interview, but I enjoyed watching him, and I thought that we talk now about um, why you go to a baseball game. There were times when I would buy a ticket because a certain starting pitcher was going to be on the mound. I would go buy a ticket to see Robbie Alomar play.
Okay.
Yeah, he's number two for me. All right.
Good.
Who still needs to go in this round? Brent,
Teddy
go
bear.
for it.
TB. Hey, being this is my favorites list, I'm going to stick with the Giants here and go with Joe Panic.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Joe Panic was the first second baseman to win a national Gold Glove award since Robbie Thompson did it in '93. Um, he was a New York native. Got to meet him at a Giants fundraiser and got to talk to him as he signed my baseball, and he's a real nice fella. I asked him, "How come you don't come to Phoenix again?" Well, it's a little long for me to go there. It's only 3,000 miles, but or maybe it's less than that to Arizona.
A guy
But
that played 81 road games a year is bitching about traveling.
I know. Well, and I'm sure the fantasy camp would foot the bill for his airfare. But what the hey? Anyway, he was. I put him on my favorites list. Um, what put him on my favorites list was his heroics as a rookie, hitting a two-run home run in a win over the Cardinals game in Game 5 in the NLCS to help his team clinch the championship, and then in the third game of in the third inning of Game 7 of the World Series against the Royals, Panic made a diving stop at a ground ball, flipped it in his glove, to Craw at shortstop, who completed one of the most awesome double plays in history. Now, the original call was safe, and after a long replay, they called him out. I thought that was great. I mean, he actually broke his belt when he was diving for that ball. He had to go in the dugout and change his belt, but that was an awesome double play. I got it on tape and everything. Tape, yeah, shows my age. But
Betamax.
Yeah.
the Giants went on to win the game 3-2 and take their third championship in 5 years. So, and he followed that with his only All-Star selection in 2015 and a Gold Glove. Honorable mention in a postseason moment the following year with a walk-off double in Game 3 of the division series. Now the Cubs went on to win that and break the curse, but uh, at least he went ahead in the game with that home run. But he finished his time in San Francisco with a 271 batting average, and he spent time with the Mets and the Blue Jays and the Marlins before he retired. But now Joe Panic is a special assistant with the Giants, so he's doing special things. So if you're a special assistant, you do special things. But anyway, Joe Panic, he's on my list. He's on my list. So that should do round 2.
All right, done with round 2. I'm gonna plug one of the mic'd up shows for the next couple minutes. This one is one you should have. I dispute your ability to do that anymore. So, of course, you're watching us on Mic'd Up. If you would like to join in and give us your comments, we would love that. And it isn't hard, and we won't make fun of you a lot.
No, not much.
When you're watching the show or before the show, open up one of the shows that is listed, and you'll see a microphone at the bottom of the screen. Tap that microphone, and you have 30 seconds to leave us a question or comment. You can play it back to see if you made any mistakes. You can erase it and start over. But once you send the send button, it shows up in the show. And if we like what you have to say, we'll play it live. So you've heard Robbie play in some of those tonight. We've got a whole bunch of the show that we'll play in. We are a proof of concept show on the platform. There's another show that has cropped up lately that I think you might find to be really fun. It's called Inside Cal Baseball, and it includes mic'd up host Jim Darby, who is the voice, the play-by-play voice of the Cal Bears baseball games, and he is interviewing the coach, the coaches, and the players of the team. There's usually a show on Thursday. They've done about 5 or 6 shows. You can see them in the archive. They're great shows, half hour long, and they interview the players who are, for the first time, experiencing travel because the Cal Bears are a member of the ACC this year. They're traveling across the United States on a consistent basis to play games, and these kids are having the times of their lives, and they're good ball players and they're good gentlemen. So take a listen to some of the shows. Look in the archive for Inside Cal Baseball. All right. Hey, let's get on to round one.
I went to a Cal Bears game one time in Berkeley. It took at that time he was my stepson, and he was into high school football, and we were waiting for the game to start. It was kind of a rainy day, but they still were playing, and we walked to the stadium, and we got close to the locker room. You could see it from the outside of the stadium. There was some windows and stuff, and they all walked out of the locker room. And him being a high school player looked at those college guys and goes, "Whoa, those guys are huge."
Well, this is a reason why I like baseball as a sport. It's the common man's sport. You don't have to be tall. You don't have to be huge in size. You just have to want to play the game and
Yep. You don't have to be good either.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're proof of that.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to
you don't have
round
to be
one.
young either.
Let's move on to round number one, and we'll do the your number one choice for favorite second baseman of all time. Let's see, who finished that round? It was you, Brent.
Yep.
Tell us who's first.
Oh, okay. Well, my favorite second baseman was Marco Scutero. He
Mm.
made his major league debut in the New York Mets. Subsequently played with the Oakland Athletics, Toronto Blue Jays, Red Sox, Colorado Rockies, but the Giants also. And what made him my favorite was that the that game-ending catch in the seventh game of the NLCS on a pop-up of Matt Holliday's base to second base in the rain with his hands out catching the baseball. I didn't know why they kept that game going. I mean, there were puddles on the infield, but it was game 7. They couldn't wait for, a day or two and continue it or play it again. So they just the umpires just let him go, but he made
they
that catch.
they kept it going so they could do the rain bobblehead.
I guess so. But he was named most valuable player in 2012 in the National League Series. And then to top it off on October 28th, in the 10th inning of Game 4, 2012, the World Series, Scudero drove in Ryan Terrio for the winning run, and they swept the Tigers for their World Series championship. So Marco Scudero is mine.
Good pick.
Good
Yeah.
choice.
There-
Right.
Terry, what do you got?
Well, I had to narrow it down to only out of the 3,000 different second basemen that Rob didn't mention already. This is a 1967 Rookie of the Year, 18-time All-Star. He played from 67 to 85. We're talking about Rod Carew.
Oh
Ah,
yeah.
yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
happy guy. Hall of Fame, 1991.
What a hitter.
Yeah, his
Mm.
lifetime batting average was 328. Wow.
Mm.
He
Wow.
chased 400 in 1977, which would have been uh, his MVP year. So Rod Carew is my number one second baseman.
Good choice.
Yep.
Personal favorite. Um, Robbie, how about you?
All right. So as a kid, this guy I thought was exactly what a ball player should look like. And of course, we all grew up dreaming that we were going to play in the major leagues. And I did too. And I always dreamt that this would be what I would look like in the major leagues. Bobby Grich.
Ah.
Got the long hair, got the perfect mustache, little eye black on,
You
little
kind of
dirt
do
on the
look like
uniform.
him, Robbie.
Bobby Grich, man, I loved watching that guy play, and he was pretty good. 6 All-Star games, 4 Gold Gloves, a Silver Slugger, and I was looking at his stats on Baseball Reference. If you care about WAR, that weird
Yeah.
stat WAR,
Wins over replacement. Yeah.
he's got a 71 career WAR, which is 62nd all time among position players,
Wow.
and that seems like you want to be all those stat geeks that talk about guys that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame and don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know that he was ever the most dominant guy at second base, but if you're the 62nd highest rated person of all time in one category, you got to be there. And I'd love to see that mustache on a plaque.
Not to
Robbie,
mention
this
he
goes
looks
to
like
your
a middle linebacker.
He
this
does.
goes
He
to your
could.
discussion
Yeah.
earlier about
Play
Bill
next to Dick
Mazeroski.
Butkus.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Robbie.
Weber was trying to talk and somebody said butt kiss. That's all I heard.
Robbie, this goes to your discussion earlier about Bill Mazeroski. During the time that Grich played, he was a large producer. His
Yeah.
numbers may not compare to a Ryan Sandberg or a Jeff Kent today, but during the time he was playing,
Oh
he
yeah.
was cream of the crop.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
And yeah, he'll wipe you out at second base if you hang on the bag too long on a double play too.
And they could do it back then.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
So yeah, always loved Bobby Grich and that mustache.
So he's interesting today. Even today, he has a suite at the Angels games,
Right.
and he goes to most games. And
Really?
he invites people to come and sit with him that he's met, at maybe a fantasy camp or a baseball clinic of some kind. He just wants baseball fans with him in his booth.
That's cool.
Well, 7-year-old me thought that's what a baseball player should look like.
Yeah.
That's all
Hold
I
it
know.
up again.
Yeah,
Hold it
hold
up
that
again.
up again. Rob, hold
What?
it, hold it,
Oh,
hold
yeah.
up grid. again.
Oh, hang on. I got to reopen the picture.
There he
Very
is.
cool.
What
Yeah.
does he have tape on his his throwing hand, or is that a ball in his hand?
No, it's just his hand
It's
is
just a
curled up.
shine.
It looks like he taped it so he could hit somebody.
Robbie lost me when they said big producer.
Brent said butt kiss.
All right. Let me finish out a round one, and then we'll do some of our callers who have got a good group of second basemen. I can see.
Good.
I'm going to finish off with a guy who, again, for it looks like about a 7 or 8 year period, was the primo second baseman in the National League. And he's one of those guys who looked like he genuinely loved playing baseball, loved his teammates, and loved being on the field. He was always smiling. Cincinnati Reds, Brandon Phillips.
Oh, yeah.
From 2006 to 2013, he had at least 17 homers and at least 75 RBIs, topping out at 30 and 103. Was out there anywhere in all of those seasons. He never played less than 147 games. He won 4 Gold Gloves. He was on several All-Star teams. He was in the MVP discussions a few years. Just a great guy and a great teammate. And he's what baseball's about. You're playing a kid's sport and you're getting paid money to do it. You best be happy on the field. I don't
having
care.
having the
Yeah.
time of his life.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's my number one pick.
Yep.
And to
Good
Robbie's
choice.
point, this guy had this amazing career, and his lifetime WAR was less than 30. So, all right. We can talk about honorable mentions, except for Terry's used up all of his.
It's true.
But we had a good list of second basemen.
Yeah, Robbie, why don't you play in some of the guests and their
Colin.
picks?
Here we go.
JC here with number 4. Number 5 was Max Muncy, now
Yeah,
with
we
the
were-
A's. Number 4, Hall of Famer Little Joe of the right arm flap as a timing device for this left-handed batter.
Yeah.
Houston Colt 45 in 1963, finished with the A's in 1984. The 1982 Silver Slugger for the Giants, known as part of the Big Red Machine, Joe Morgan.
Yep. No argument there.
Number 3, a 1947 Hall of Famer, started with the Giants in 1919 without spending a day in the minors. Appointed captain of the Giants after the 21 and 22 World Series titles, was traded to the Cards in 1926 until 1937. Frankie Frisch.
1919? Did he watch him play?
Well, JC was in high school.
Oh, he's in high school. Okay. You're watching a transistor radio or crystal
My
radio.
number 2 is Robbie Thompson. Leads all Giants in appearances at the 2-bag.
Yeah.
11 years as a major leaguer, all with the Giants. 93 NL Gold Glover, 2 All-Star games. Robbie Thompson was a gamer. Number 1 coming up, and it's going to take a couple of sessions.
It's going to take
Oh.
3, but I
Ooh.
think it's worth it, and I'm surprised that none of us use this guy.
Well,
JC with number 1. The Winter Leagues announced him Segundo Base, Duane Quipi. In 1974, he started with the Indians, finished in 1985 with the Giants. Career line, 3,379 at-bats, 917 hits, 1 home run, a 271 lifetime average, More on him coming up in the next two clips.
He was on my list, but I thought
Continuing
you guys would
about
get him.
Dwayne Kuiper. I saw him hit his second home run since he started in 1974. This was October 8th, 1994. A group of West Coast fantasy baseball players, along with Kruko and Kuiper, visited San Quentin State Prison to play the home team, the Pirates. More on that in a minute. With the fantasy campers trailing in the ninth, Kruko and Kuiper came up to pinch hit. Kuiper launched a home run over the wall in right field into the HIV cell block. No one would get him the ball. Kruko, who has 5 lifetime home runs in MLB, struck out. The fantasy campers lost. A great article about that in SF Gate by Alex Simon, December 5.
2023, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
Frequent guest of this show, Alex Simon. It's worth looking up on sfgate.com
It
to read
sure
that
is.
article. Okay, we got one more caller with a couple of calls.
My top second basemen, in no particular order, are, of course, all Giants. And I'd have to say Jeff Kent is one. Willie McCovey, who usually played first base, but did play second as well. And my number one and my favorite Giant of all time, Robbie Thompson.
Oh, cool.
And then a quick
Good
follow-up.
choices.
Oh, and I can't believe I forgot him, but of course, a great Giant, Joe Morgan.
All right, that wraps up the callers.
Oh, awesome. Those are
Yeah.
good ones.
Good
Everybody.
run tonight.
Yes. I mean, Robbie briefly mentioned him, but I think Lou Whitaker is one of those guys who probably should be in the Hall of Fame. His double play partner Alan Trammell made it. Whitaker had a pretty darn good career. He should probably be in the Hall of Fame. Hopefully, one of these Veterans Committee votes will get him in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any others, guys?
Freddie Sanchez was always a favorite of mine too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, second baseman. I think he made an appearance at fantasy camp one year, and we got to talk to him a little bit. But he always had the Hispanic baggy pants for baseball pants, but he was a good player. Injuries got him; he couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at my list of Giants second basemen over the years. You've listed almost every single one of them.
Really?
And then Freddie Sanchez is a sharp dresser.
Yeah.
Hopefully that we won't be typecast as Giants only show, but I totally get it. You grow up with these guys. You're watching them on TV every day. They become your favorites.
Well, those are the guys I watched because I got to go to the game when I was younger, so they became my favorites.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, second baseman always seem to be those scrappy guys. You always root for them for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had 3. Dave Cash. I used to love watching Dave Cash with the Pirates and then the Phillies. I don't know why. He just go ahead.
He was smooth.
He was great. Yep. Billy Doran. Billy Doran, for a lot of bad Astros teams, that guy was a pretty good, solid player. I really enjoyed watching him. And then Dick McAuliffe with the Detroit Tigers.
Dick McAuliffe, yeah. He could be a linebacker too, I think.
Yeah, he was kind of abnormal for a second baseman. He was a big dude.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So imagine if, for those of you who have not seen Dick McAuliffe play, imagine stepping into the batter's box and then turning your body completely towards the pitcher and trying to hit that way. That was Dick McAuliffe's batting stance.
He was unique.
You could see both of his feet, right up, apart from each other, he's staring right at you. Oh, go ahead, throw the ball.
Hey, didn't one of our West Sacramento local guys, Steve Sachs, play second base for the Dodgers?
He did. He did.
Yeah. Didn't he get
Um,
the yips for a while? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
for quite a while.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. I know we tend to hate Dodgers on this show, but Steve Sachs is a pretty good guy. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. He was announcing for our River Cats here.
mhm.
Yep.
He's announcing for the A's now, I believe, too. The
Oh,
Sacramento
cool.
A's,
All right. Well,
even though
he's
they don't
right
want us
there
to
in the
say that.
area. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, Rob, I'm going to guess one of your honorable mentions. Glenn Beckert.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, guys. He's your hometown second baseman.
Yeah.
And I would always tell my dad, "Oh, he's so good." My dad would say, "He's like the 8th or 9th best second baseman in the National League. You just like him because he's on the Cubs." And then Glenn Beckert hit 342 one year. And he won the batting title, and that shut my dad up for good. He never talked about Glenn Beckert anymore.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Any others?
I was gonna say I had the opportunity to meet him once with
Oh,
Sarge,
good.
and he's super little Southern drawl, just a
Yeah.
down home kind of guy. Yeah, it was great.
Good guy. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us this evening, and
Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed the show. I think next week's show may take place from the home of the Stockton Ports, where we
Sweet.
were going to opening night of the Silver Sluggers. The Ports begin their season. I think tonight was their first game.
Yep.
And we'll be opening up our schedule. So we'll be doing a few of our shows from the stadium, just like we did last year. And I'm not positive about the show topic, but if we continue it in this theme, I think we'll probably do a show about shortstops. But look for the show announcement once we get it posted.
Cool.
Anything else, guys?
Oh man, it's
All
been
right.
fun. Thank you
Thanks a lot,
guys.
Robbie.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you to Almanac.
Yes.
Thanks, Mom, for watching.
All right, play us out.
Highlights from Lowlifes.
It is a good beer. I'm not going to share it with you guys. You get the IPA.
Highlights
Figures.